Is Canadian real estate in a hyper bubble? It definitely is. Let's talk about what's going to happen.
Trailers for sale or rent, $2,050,000. No services, pool or pets. You made some real bad bets, so 90 hours of push and broom buys a cockroach-infested one-bedroom. I'm a man of means by no means. I'll just sleep on the road.
So I was in real estate a long time as a builder, developer, renovator, flipper, and rental property investor. So I proudly am out of real estate quite a few years ago. Now, I did miss some of the bubble going way up. And is Canadian real estate in a bubble? Well, let's see. We are not quite double the average house price as the average house price in the United States. And this is Canada. There's not a lot to do. It's kind of barren. You know, it's cold. It's kind of a hard place to live. The economic opportunities are way less because of the last kind of 10 years of the politics that we've had in Canada. You get paid less for your job. There's higher taxes, and quality of life is just a lot lower. But the house prices are double. Okay. So if you are an older person, you have benefited from fake increase of equity. If you're a younger person, you can't afford to get into housing. So older people probably like leftist politics and government printing money and super high inflation because your asset prices went up and it makes you feel wealthy. Now, the young people that the older people with assets don't seem to care about can't get into housing because it's way too expensive. The Conservatives up in Canada, the next election, are going to be winning in an incredible landslide. It's kind of like a given. So we've had pendulum left, socialist woke stuff, and hyperinflation and printing money, and, you know, which creates real estate bubbles, massive real estate bubbles. Pendulum swings. Now, Pierre Poilievre is talking about affordable housing. So why is housing so expensive? Well, government prints a whole bunch of money. There's a whole bunch of government getting in the way, so it's really, really expensive to build houses. So there is a housing shortage. The existing stuff is way too expensive. Now, it's rolling over already. The house prices are coming down, actually, in Fiat Canadian currency and especially in gold and silver. So in gold and silver, real estate, which is real money, the last year real estate crashed by about 30%. Okay, now this is going to continue to go way, way up, real money in this scheme, and real estate's going to actually crash in real terms, but in fake Canadian dollar terms. Is real estate going to go down? This is kind of crazy to think about. The Canadian economy and the U.S. economy is very, very similar, but it's based on 70% service-based economy, okay? Now, Canada does a little bit of farming and agriculture and raw resources. The remainder of the economy is propped up by a very, very inflated real estate bubble. So everybody thinks that they have all this equity and everybody's rich. It's a question of national security. It's a national security threat if real estate goes down. If Canada real estate on average had a 50% drop, we'd be close to on par with the United States. Now, the Conservatives want to make housing more affordable for young people, which rightly so. So Conservatives, they're not going to do anything enough to fix problems like a libertarian would. You have to cut government way more, but they're going to cut government bureaucracy to start building, start permitting, and cut out some of the government shit out of the building stuff, which is going to make real estate way cheaper, and we're going to make affordable housing. Well, what does that mean? House prices come down. Oh, what does that mean? That this perceived wealth, that your real estate went up for no reason other than the government prints a whole bunch of currency and government expands. You feel wealthy, but you're going to lose that equity. Now, do people have 50% equity where the house prices could drop by 50% to match the United States? No, most people do not have 50% equity. They probably have, whatever. The average house price in Canada dropped to now $730,000 on average. Maybe people have 1 or 200,000 in equity. Now, the people who are going to get really screwed are the young people that struggled and saved and finally saved enough for a down payment and bought recently, because when the house bubble deflates and becomes more affordable, you got screwed. But like baby boomers and older people and stuff, they've rode the wave, right? So if you're a middle baby boomer or something, or older baby boomer, and you bought a house in the 1970s for $15,000, lived in it, did F all except for prevented water from coming in the roof and upgraded the appliances, didn't do anything else. Now that $15,000 house is 400,000 Canadian. Well, actually, it's the same house and it depreciated a bit, but hyperinflation almost, the dollar lost that much value. But so you're sitting pretty good. Congratulations, right? Now, in the future, so that's 50 years. So in the next 50 years, do you think a $400,000 house is going to go up to $12 million or something? The same growth ratio? Possibly in fiat terms, but not in real money terms. The other issue is Donald Trump said, let's make Canada the 51st state. Now, there's a good chance that this actually happens. I would say United States is, well, you guys have the World Reserve currency backed by nothing, right? Except for you being a bully, essentially. Now, so you'd be kind of like Rome or Babylon. Now, you should expand. So you should buy us Canadians, right? So, well, I don't know. What's a Canadian slave worth? How much, because Donald Trump's going to buy and sell all the citizens and resources and everything. So this will be a good wake-up call for people. You can start talking about the word sovereignty and how can somebody just buy me in my country? Well, it's because you're a slave. But anyway, so I could actually see Canada becoming part of the USA. Now, what's that going to do to the Canadian real estate market? Okay, so let's say you can buy a tear-down crack house in Vancouver for the same price as a little mansion in Texas. Well, we're the same country now. So Canadians can move and everybody can move now. We're the same country. So would you rather live in a really cold part of the world with lots of drugs and high taxes and not much job opportunity and live in a crack house? Or would you like to go down to Texas with lots of jobs and more opportunities and better weather and live in a mansion and have lower taxes and things? It's a tough decision. So let's say our countries combine and go to the US and we go to the US dollar. Real estate prices in Canada, I suspect, will drop by 75%, because it would have to drop by 50% to be on par. And probably not many people want to live in a frozen kind of place with, not much economic activity and opportunities, or much less, I suppose. So I would say they would be cheaper than in the United States. So 75% off real estate. Okay, that should be kind of cool. So I hope you're holding on to your condo in downtown Toronto that you paid $1.5 million for, and you think you're rich with all your equity there, because you're screwed. It's bad economic time, so every single factor you can think of, debt per capita, GDP per capita, in Canada's the worst. Jobs, opportunity, unemployment in Canada, the amount of debt that we've created, the homelessness, all factors are worse than 2008 already, yet we're apparently not in a recession. They just backdate those. We're probably in Great Depression type stuff, I think. But here's the really cool thing. So it's a matter of national security to keep the real estate bubble hyperinflated, okay? Because if it goes down, now here I gotta explain how the banking system and things work. So how is money created? And debt is money in this fiat debt-based Ponzi scheme. So you go to the bank and you want a mortgage. The bank says, well, you got a down payment? Well, you have to pay with money that you actually had to earn. so like Canadian dollars. And then the rest of the mortgage is fugazi printed out of thin air, typed in the computer, and the banks like give you money, and that's how money's created. So the banks don't want the houses. They want you, the slave, to pay them principal and interest, okay? So when you get a mortgage, you put your down payment, so you have some skin in the game, right? Now, the banks mandate that you pay property tax, that you look after the house, and that you insure their asset, because it's the bank asset, it's not your asset. If you have a mortgage, it's the bank's asset. Now, if you have a mortgage, but it also is a rental property that produces cash flow way above the mortgage, then it isn't cash flowing asset, but it's typically the bank's asset, your own house that you're living in. Now, another cool thing about, I live in reality, right? I produce things in the real world, and I like real things, like real money. I don't like debt, so I'm weird, right? My house and real estate is a depreciating asset in the real world. It's like, what, Dean, you're crazy. Real estate only goes up. It's like, no, the Canadian dollar only goes down. Real estate is a depreciating asset. Well, let me explain. So I built my own house myself almost 10 years ago now. And since then, we had 3 little boys in that house, and we used it. So when I first built it, everything's brand new. It has a 100-year roof. 10 years go by. Now it's only got a 90-year roof left. Everything was clean. No dents in the walls, no scuffs, no worn-out place of the carpet where you walk. It was squeaky clean. Now it's like dirty and got dust and stuff. And with kids, everything from the waist down, there's nicks in the walls. They're running around like the crazy little animals that they are, climbing up the countertop handles, ripping some of those off, drawing on the walls and parts. And now it's a used house. Now, was the house more valuable when I just finished it and everything's mint? New appliances, new microwaves, new water heater, new faucets, no stain in the bathtub, everything's brand spanking new. Or after 9 years of it being lived in and you have a used house. Well, let's think of a car. So you have a new car that has low kilometers, and then you have a 10-year-old car that has high kilometers, and you're telling me that the used car is worth way more than the new car? Or how does this work? So real estate's a depreciating asset. Every year that goes by, the house is valued at less. The building is valued at less. The barn is getting worn out. The shop is getting worn out. The greenhouse gets a little older. The greenhouse is going to have to replace this poly in a few years. It's a depreciating asset, except for in a debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme bullshit land where you can buy a house in 1970 for $15,000, do F all, and then it's worth $400,000. Good for you. Are you wealthy? Good stuff. But real estate is going to continue to go up. So let's say, like, to the point where I could probably burn down half of my house and it'd be more valued than the day that I built it. That's how high inflation is going to go. But there's going to be a real estate collapse in real terms, so gold and silver terms, like 30% real estate crash last year, because this went up 30% and real estate dropped 2% or something in Canada. So in real terms, real estate's going to crash. In Canadian garbage fiat currency terms, they are going to sacrifice the Canadian dollar to keep the real estate bubble afloat because the banks can't have the houses back. The asset isn't actually the house. It's the slave person that's paying principal and interest on a death contract created out of thin air by banks. Okay? The banks do not want you to mail your keys back. So as a central planner, you got to manage interest rates is one way that they do it, and kind of super hyper manage it because we don't have a free market. It's centrally planned. So they want probably real estate to come down a little bit, but not enough that people lose all their equity and mail the keys back to the bank because the bank doesn't want the house. That would collapse this Ponzi scheme and we'd be back to like beautiful things in reality and could rebuild, and we'd have real money and real things that like good food and things, and people that work hard and merits would become a thing again. So I'm not particularly worried about the collapse, but is it going to? Sometime it is. I don't know exactly when. I'm surprised it's gone on this long. But they are going to sacrifice the Canadian dollar, which means much higher inflation in Canada, to keep the real estate bubble afloat in Canadian dollar terms. So again, in real terms, real estate stay the same or have a major crash in terms of real money, and in fake fugazi, printed out of thin air bullshit dollars, I think it's going to stay the same, maybe down a little bit, maybe even keep going up. You know what I mean? So maybe my farm will be worth $1 billion in a few years if we have hyperinflation. But in terms of this, still had a crash because this goes up way, 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 way more, right? So some things to think about. So what do you do? None of this is financial advice. And actually, if you meet an economist that knows a lot of things about a lot of things and, didn't go to public school, wasn't indoctrinated too much, all that stuff, and wrote books on economics, like a handful of really smart people, don't listen to those guys in the Ponzi scheme. Those guys are for after the Ponzi scheme, like the world that's upside down gets turned right side up. And I guess myself included, don't listen to me. You should listen to your bank teller that doesn't know anything. You should listen to the average financial planner. You should listen to your peers at work at your government job that, don't know anything about anything, don't even know what this is. They don't know how currency is created. They don't know anything about anything. Those are the people that you want to listen to in a Ponzi scheme. The ones that invest in fart coin, digital tokens, NFTs, and Pokemon cards. The ones that are really smart, that write books and know everything about everything and know recorded history for the past thousands of years and everything, you don't listen to them until it gets close to the end of the Ponzi scheme and then when things get back to reality. So it's not financial advice. Do what you want. Let me know what you think. Is Dean talking crazy again? Do you not know what I'm talking about whatsoever? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Are you holding off to buy a house? Did you buy a house recently? Are you hodling your condo in Toronto because real estate only goes up? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.
It's a bubble, but it's gonna keep going higher in Canadian dollars, but not real money.
So instead of placing advertisements mid-roll from other YouTube advertisers, shameless plug at the end of our product we invented. 25-year shelf life, all the nutrition, delicious, freeze-dried, pure fruit smoothies. So I switched industries because I have a good idea of what's going to happen in the world. I used to be an adult babysitter, aka real estate investor and landlord. The last rental property I sold was a 2-bedroom house and 14 people moved in. Now that changed my mindset a bit because 14 people can actually survive in that house, but 14 people can't share 2 plates of food. So we try to help customers as best we can. We sell these for the cheapest price. I have to monitor inflation and replacement costs on the inventory. It had actually crossed my mind recently to not continue to sell these and just sit on them as an investment because what a good business. Every smoothie that doesn't sell because it lasts 25 years goes significantly higher in value because the replacement cost on food and food inflation is going to significantly increase. The absolute minimum that a human being should eat is 1 smoothie per day. We reduce the size, so it's 1 smoothie at a lower price. So half the size and half the prices are older smoothies. Each one's 100% of your daily vitamin C, all the micronutrients on the nutrition charts on the back that you need to live. So do what you will with all that information. It's entirely up to you. We're here to help you out if you want the help. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.